Hello and welcome everyone to the Main Street Matters webinar. My name is Patrick Kaiser. I am the Executive Director of Heart on Main Street. This is a monthly webinar series designed to connect independent retailers and community organizations to experts in their field so you can learn from a valuable wealth of expertise about running retail and being able to provide great experiences. My guest today is Bob Negen, the founder of WhizBang Retail Training. Bob, thank you so much for joining today.
Patrick, I am honored to be here.
Well, I'm glad, I'm honestly very honored that you are here. Bob has started WhizBang Retail Training in 1999, has talked to retailers all across the world, has worked with thousands of retailers. If you don't know about Bob, you really should, and about WhizBang Retail Training. And if you love what you learn here today, I really recommend that you come join us in June in Grand Rapids for the Retail Success Summit that WhizBang is putting on. Bob, you want to talk for a second about the Retail Success Summit?
Sure. The Retail Success Summit is one of the largest, most comprehensive conferences specifically for independent retail all across, we've had almost every industry represented, but it's just a great way to become inspired to get great information to help you build your business. And right now, with everything being as uncertain as it is, inspiration, strategies, tactics, they're more important than ever. So I would encourage you all, be in Grand Rapids, June 16 and 17. It promises to be the best ever. It's our 19th, by the way.
19th. That's amazing. I was able to attend one a couple years ago. I loved it. I learned so much, got to meet so many other retailers, which I really enjoyed. So again, June 16th, 17th, and they can register for that through the WhizBang Retail Training website.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, but today we're going to be talking about customer service, which I always love. I think it's one of the areas that, well, retailers really sets independent retailers apart from all other types of retail, and an area where indie retailers can really win is within customer service. So always really excited to learn about that. Bob, excited for what you're going to talk to us today about.
All right. Well, today we're going to talk about climbing the customer service pyramid. What we're going to explore is this idea that the customer experience is your real only competitive advantage. Look, you can't out Amazon. You can't out Walmart. But Amazon and Walmart together can't out you. You as an independent retailer have the ability to create the kind of experience that makes a person feel human and makes them feel special. But, this idea, this competitive advantage that you have is only good if you know how to execute. So too many people think good, kind, friendly equals service. Good, kind, friendly is an important element of service, but it is certainly not all of service. It's not all of the experience. And that's what today is all about. Today is about getting you to think. It's about getting you to become inspired to do the work to give your customers the kind of experience that makes them want to come back again and again and again. There's only three ways to grow your business: get new customers, increase your average ticket, and get more transactions per customer. More transactions per customer is what drives lifetime value. Lifetime value of a customer is what drives your long-term success. Look, what you're trying to do is get new people in the door, sell them as much as you ethically and correctly can while they're there, but then get them in again and again and again. And you're independent retailers. Nothing gets people back in the door better than a great experience. And nothing drives them away faster than a bad experience. So this is a statistic from U.S. News and World Report. The average business loses 15% of its customer base every year. I would contend that number is higher, but let's just go with that. 68 leave because of poor or indifferent service. Think about that. They leave because they think you don't care. Now, this is important. You can care deeply, but if you don't do the things that translate into every customer getting a great experience every time, your customer won't know. And that's what today is all about. So indifferent service, 14% leave because of an unsatisfactorily resolved complaint, 9% leave because of price, and 5% else because go on a recommendation, and 1% die. You know, people die. That's a reality. But now think about this. Too often we think, oh, we have to lower our price. We have to lower our price. Price isn't why people leave. People leave because they don't get the kind of experience that makes them want to come back. This is important. If you're taking notes, write this down. Expectations are up, loyalty is down. Let me say it again. Expectations are up, loyalty is down. You have to meet and exceed their expectations if you're going to earn their loyalty. So, oops, I am one slide behind. I apologize here. So what does all of that mean? All of that means that 82% of your customers leave because of a customer service issue. And if you can stop 5% of your customers from leaving, you increase your bottom line profit by 25 to 95%. You know, too often I see retailers working so hard to get new customers and then not doing what they can to get them back. You know, it's the churn and burn mentality that will hurt you big time in the future. Again, what are we trying to do? Give them the kind of experience that makes them want to come back. Love your customers. The money will follow. This is so important. And we're going to sort of talk about the customer experience service. I like to call it the customer experience pyramid now, but the customer service experience, because what we're going to do now is we're going to start talking about how you build this up, how you build the kind of service and experience mentality and how you execute on that mentality that creates a business that your customers are going to love. So where do you start if you want to build a pyramid? You start at the bottom. And at the bottom of the customer service experience pyramid is your philosophy. Because if you're not thinking right about your customers, you're not going to treat them right. You're not going to do the things that I'm going to suggest that you do here. And that philosophy is really, really driven by this thing called WWMCW. WWMCW is an acronym that I created specifically to express this idea. What would my customer want? Let me say it again. What would my customer want? And WWMCW is both a philosophy, a worldview, but it's also a strategy. And the way that I define strategy is, where are you putting your resources? What are you doing that's going to get you closer to your goals? And I'm going to look at all of you. I had my own retail business for 19 years. I had a chain of kite and toy stores. I had it for 19 years. So this is not some airy-fairy. I am not a business college professor. I'm a guy who work the floor just like you. And for the last 25 years, I've been doing this, meaning I have looked under the hood of thousands of retailers, in addition to working in my own business for almost 20 years. And I can tell you for a fact that the retailers who focus on their customers and what their customers want are the most successful retailers. They make the most money, they have the most loyal customers, they have the least amount of stress, and they have the most amount of fun. So does all that sound good? Least amount of stress, most amount of fun, make more money. If that sounds good to you, then WWMCW is the way that I'm going to encourage you to look at your business. When you make important decisions, run it through that filter. But another important concept as we sort of look at the base of the customer experience pyramid is this idea of the emotional bank account. And I got this concept from Stephen Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, among other things. But Covey contends, and I agree, that everybody has in any relationship, there's sort of a metaphorical bank account. And if you want to have a positive balance in your bank account, you need to make 10 deposits for every withdrawal. Let me say it again, 10 deposits for every withdrawal. And I read that, I go, this is absolutely right. So what are you trying to do? When you have the WWMCW philosophy and strategy built into your heart and built into your mind and built in the way that you do business, you're always asking, what can I give? What can I give? What can I give? What can I give? Because givers get. And the emotional bank account is just like a bank account in a financial institution. I'm going like that because my bank is two blocks up. You build the balance so you can make the withdrawal. And in this case, the withdrawal is asking someone to come in for your promotion or building the balance so that when they think of what you sell, they don't think, where am I going to go? They think, when can I get into your store? See, when the balance is big enough, you are top of mind. Let me define top of mind one more time for you. So if you're taking notes, you can write this down. You have achieved top of mind awareness. And you achieve top of mind awareness by building the emotional bank account. When someone needs to buy what you sell, they don't think, where should I go? They think, when can I get into your store? That's a beautiful thing, baby. That's the holy grail, isn't it? When you have that fail-safe loyalty from your customers, that's how you build that long-term lifetime value. We're not thinking transactionally. We're thinking about a relationship and the value that comes from a relationship. But so when you have that, when you have done that, what happens? You have built trust through generosity and goodwill. You have earned the benefit of a doubt. And then the next layer in the emotional bank account is your policies. And this is really, so many people get this wrong. So let's just sort of go through some customer-friendly or unfriendly policies. One of them is store hours. Look, you cannot sell through a closed door. And I'm seeing more and more of this, and I'm looking at you and telling you this is a bad business decision. You need to be open 7 days a week. When you don't, people just go somewhere else. Let's go back to expectations are up, loyalty is down. You cannot sell through a closed door. So if you're closed on, let's just say Sunday, not only are you missing out on 52 days a year of 52 days of sales, but you're also giving your customers an opportunity to go somewhere else. Our local independent hardware store closes at 2 o'clock on Sunday. I can't tell you how many times I've had to go to Home Depot because I needed something that they sold, and it was Sunday's a project day, right? They're closed. You have to be there. So here are my bottom line customer friendly hours: 10 to 6 Monday through Saturday, 12 to 5 Sunday. You, you that's minimum, minimum. And I can tell you that the best merchants keep longer hours. Let me say it again. The best, most successful merchants keep longer hours. Now, one thing that always gets said, and you may be thinking it right now too, is, Bob, but I need a day to rest. Bob, I need a chance to catch up on my home tasks. Bob, I need to get out of the store for a day. And I get that feeling. I understand that feeling. But when you say that, what you're really admitting is that you haven't developed the chops yet to hire and lead good people. So what you have to do is, rather than saying, I need a day off, you have to say, I need to find good people. I have to train them. I have to empower them. And then I have to go away. And if they need something, I'm going to trust them to make a decision. Here's the rule that I suggest: that when you leave for a day off, the explicit instruction is, unless there's blood or smoke, don't call me. Blood, smoke, those are the only exceptions. So store hours are a reflection of how you think about your customers. WWMCW. So here's a funny little thing. Here's somebody sent me this. Winter store hours: Monday closed, Tuesday 11:30 to 2, Wednesday closed. So they're closed 3 days a week. They're open for 3.5 hours twice. And then gift certificates are available. Why in the world would you give somebody a gift certificate to this store? What? So they can be frustrated that they can't spend their gift certificate. So it's just, this sign represented 17, they're open 17 hours. By the way, the mall is open 79 hours. So somebody changed it and said, oh no, I'm sorry. So here's another sign that I just find amusing. It says, sorry, we're closed due to short staff, and somebody taped on the window, hire a taller staff because I need a taco. Clearly, it was a taco stand, but just sort of a funny sign, and I love those funny signs. But the point here is that if you're going to really, really be a customer focused independent retail business, you have to keep customer friendly hours. And that means 7 days a week and at least 10 to 5. The next thing, customer friendly or unfriendly policy, is payment methods. This is another example of people getting into the confirmation bias of, everybody's doing it, therefore I can too. This whole idea, you're paying 3.5%, sometimes 4% for credit card processing. Yes, it's painful. But here's what I want to talk about quickly. On our WhizBang Retailers Facebook group page, which if you haven't joined, I would encourage you to go join, I did a survey and said, if a retailer charges you to use a credit card, what do you do? And by the time the whole thing was done, 58% of the people gave some variation of, I don't say anything, I don't complain, I don't come back. I don't come back. So don't do it. Build that into your margins. Find another way. But fee fatigue is real, and don't lose customer. This is a perfect example of being penny wise and dollar foolish. I mean, there are about 7 restaurants here in the Grand Haven area, Grand Haven, Michigan area that I just don't go back to. They charge, right? And I will not pay. Sometimes I feel like the old man shaking his fist at the sky, but I can tell you there are lots and lots. 58%. And when you think about that, these are independent retailers. They understand the costs, and they just don't go back. So here's another example. A customer, attention customers, we don't accept $100 bills. Debit card has a $10 minimum. Credit cards has a $10 minimum. All sales are final. No return, no exchange. I see that sign on the door, and by golly, I just want to run in and buy a whole bunch of stuff, right? What is that person saying to everyone who is walking by their store? I don't like you. I don't trust you. Yeah, I don't like you, or I don't trust you. So compare that to this. We accept cash, checks that don't bounce, all credit cards, euro, Colombian pesos, kroners, British pounds, and margaritas. I love that. Hungry but have no money, wash some dishes, sweep and whatnot, and we'll hook you up. This sign tells people exactly the vibe, the philosophy, the customer attitude, the love for customers that people should want and see. By the way, that is right at the register. So when you're paying, you see that. Those two signs. One says you're not welcome here. The other says, I want your money. I want you to shop with me. And which leads to the next slide, which is customer friendly or unfriendly policies, which is returns. So here's an example of an incredibly unfriendly policy. No returns, no exchanges, no refunds, even if you bought the wrong thing by mistake. Well, it makes you feel confident. It's like, come on, you can't be serious. Why would you post that sign? Compare that to this one. We tried it, we liked it. You didn't, no problem. We'll gladly give you a refund. Much, much, much better. So I'm asking you to think about when we go through these signs that illustrate policies and philosophies, which ones make you feel good, which ones make you feel like you'd want to shop there, and which ones turn you off. I want to share real quickly here. Today, earlier this morning, we had a meeting of our retail marketing club. And we had a special guest, Maureen Doran from Skirt in the Philadelphia area. She's a member of our Platinum Mastermind group, and she does a promotion every year called Wardrobe Rewind. And what she does is she buys back clothing from people who had purchased it from her, and she donates it to it's called My Closet. It's an organization that gets high quality clothing to women who are going back into the workplace and need clothing for interviews. But the evolution of that event, which makes her an enormous amount of money, is she joined the mastermind, and as she tells the story, when she joined the mastermind, she was open 6 days a week, and she had the same policy as everybody else in her industry, women's fashion, which is 7 days. It needs to be in new shape. That it needs to be new, unworn, can't have tags on it. And after she joined the mastermind and we all talked about these sorts of things, she went home and changed her policy to basically there is no policy. If you're not happy with what you bought here, we want We want you to come. We want to make it right. So her policy went from incredibly customer unfriendly to incredibly friendly. Now, here's what she found. She found that when she changed her policy, her team members became so much more comfortable and confident on the floor. When they were showing somebody something and the person would go, well, I don't know. They said, look, take it home, wear it once or twice. If you don't like it, bring it back. What she found was that her returns dropped dramatically. And so the evolution of this promotion was, so she changed the policy, then it sort of hid it under a barrel. Then she started making sure that her team members talked about it with the customers and started to see success. Then she started thinking about it. Wait a minute, I've got the best return policy in the industry. I should be shouting this. So she literally went into her closet and said, I don't want you to ever have anything in your closet that you bought from us that you don't feel great about. So therefore, come on in, during this thing and we'll buy it back. And, we don't need to get into the details of it, but basically she had a fixed price for, $25 for a top, 50 for jeans. I don't remember what it was. People would get a gift certificate, only one item. People got a gift certificate that they had to spend that day, but the amount of publicity and everything around it, but it all started from having this incredibly customer friendly um, return policy. Don't nickel and dime your customers. Just don't nickel and dime. The tendency with people who are new in particular is to be very, very protective of the margin of every transaction. Don't worry about the margin from every transaction as much as you worry about the value of the relationship. Now, I get it. Every penny is precious. I get it. Margins are important. But I'm just telling you, love your customers. The money will follow. Customer friendly or unfriendly bathroom policies. I love this one. Attention, toilet only for disabled, elderly, pregnant children. I don't know about you, but I've never met anybody who was a disabled, elderly, pregnant child. But, $1 a person if you're not, making a purchase from us. Come on. If you've got a bathroom, make it available to everyone. And I know that there are always exceptions, but there should always be an exception, even if your bathroom is an exception. I was in the toy business, and I mean, we had an eating, drinking, smoking, bring your dog, bring your pet, a cat, bring your pet pig. We'll let you use our bathroom. You just want them in your store and you want them to feel your love, and your attitude towards the bathroom is a reflection of it, right? It's a reflection of it. Here's a general attitude. Here's a couple of signs. This is my favorite, actually. Store rules. If you're crazy, stay out. If you plan on asking for a discount, refer to rule number 1. Please don't fart inside the store. What? No food, drink, smoking. If you have a crappy attitude, we charge more. And this is a real sign, folks. This is a real sign. And I've done this program, I mean, literally dozens of times. I'm a busy speaker. And one time, a couple years ago, somebody came up and said, did you see the onesie? If you look at this carefully, you see a onesie in the background that says, my mom puts out. It's like, wow, wow, wow. Here's another one. Do not use the reflection off this glass to check yourself out. Come on, come on. Here's an example of the right way. We have quarters and maps and directions. Again, whatever you need, we're going to do everything we can to show you the love. Because when we show you the love, you're more likely to buy from us. And believe me, I know some of you are making up exceptions in your head. I worked in tourist towns. I worked where people were, when we were busy, where there was always an opportunity to pull back on the experience when the opportunity is really to expand the experience, to make it better for your customers. Write this down. This is really, really important. Never let an incident create a customer unfriendly policy that punishes the many for the bad behavior of the few. Here's the tendency. And again, I understand this. I understand how you feel, but you're a human being. We're all human beings. And there's this idea that when somebody takes advantage of us or when something happens the way we don't want it to happen, our tendency is to find a way to cut it off at the pass, to find a way to make sure it never happens again. But what happens unless you have this WWMCW philosophy, unless you have this as a guiding light, is pretty soon you've got 50 different policies that hold everybody in line. Look, folks, your customers don't want to be controlled. They don't want to be controlled. And every time you say this is the policy, you lose a customer. So when something doesn't go the way you want it to go, when a customer takes advantage of you, when something happens that, doesn't go the way you want it to go, don't, and your impulse is to create a new policy, ask yourself, is this an incident? Does this happen? Does this just happen once? Does it happen rarely? Does it really need to have a policy attached to it? And if it happens a lot, then yes, create the most customer-friendly policy you possibly can. But if it's just an incident or if it happens rarely, let it go. Let it go. I hope this is all making sense. And if this is making you a little uncomfortable, good. I'm glad. That's what I'm trying to do here, because some people, by nature of their nature, by nature or because of what they're seeing from other retailers who might be influencing them, that's not if you're feeling uncomfortable, I'm hoping that this is bringing you around to this very, very customer friendly perspective, this WWMCW perspective, because this is where the money is. I'm looking at you and saying, this is the path to a financially successful business. I'm looking at you. This is the path to a financially successful business. Let me tell you a quick story here. So I was at the Uniform Retailers Association. This is years ago now. I was speaking at the Uniform Retailers Association, and I was talking about store hours. It wasn't necessarily this particular program. And oh no, I wasn't talking about store hours. I was talking about return policies. And somebody raised their hand and said, I have a you buy it, it's yours policy. Basically they didn't have a return policy, or they did, but their return policy is if you buy it, it's yours, like the one picture I showed you. And so I love going there. So, I went there. We had this big sort of several hundred person debate going on. And I said what I always say is, look, it's your business. You can make any decision you choose, but at the end of the day, your success is a reflection of the decisions you make. So anyway, we left it the way it was. I felt like I had challenged people enough. And at our Retail Success Summit that year, a woman comes up to me and she said, do you remember me? And I didn't. I felt badly because I like to remember faces and names. And she said, I'm the person who had the terrible return policy at the Uniform Retailers Association. Now I remember you. And she said, I went back and I changed my policy, and my business immediately grew 20%. 20%. Isn't that something? Why? Her people could sell, her customers were happy. So think about that. WWMCW. The final thing is here is handling complaints. How do you handle a complaint? So remember, 14% of customers who leave do so because of an unresolved or poorly handled complaint. Remember that statistic from the beginning? What most people do incorrectly, or most people don't know how to handle complaints, and they don't teach their team members how to handle complaints. Therefore, they're not handled correctly. Most people say, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry is not the right thing to say. The right thing to say is thank you. Thank you. You see, when someone complains, they're giving you a gift. They're giving you the opportunity to make it right. So when you say thank you, and look at my body language. So if you were to come up and complain, the first thing I would say is thank you, right? My body, I mean, you can't see it because I know that I'm out of the screen, but thank you. And I'm sincere about it. Now I have a chance to make it right. And then the next words are, what would you like me to do? Let them decide. And again, this is counterintuitive, isn't it? This is counterintuitive. But again, I can tell you from real life experience that people just want to be heard. And if you say, what would you like me to do? Not, what would you like me to do? What would you like me to do? They're almost always reasonable. So in the 19 years that I was in retail and we handled complaints this way, only twice did people make an unreasonable request. And we don't have time to go into those stories because they're kind of good stories, but they were an incident, not a problem. So if you and your team just treat all of these things, your customers are on your team. Your customers, you're on the same team. You're trying to get to the same place. Don't treat them like the enemy. Treat them like human beings who make a difference. They make a big difference. They've got the money. You've got the goods. You want them to work together. So anyway, that's that. Your employees, you see, if you have the philosophy and you have the policies and you hire the right people and you train them the right way, your staff is going to give your customers the kind of experience that makes them want to come back. So what do you want? You want to hire the right fit. You want to make sure you get the right people who align with you philosophically, people who have the same core values as you, people who think and act like you. You see, and now this is getting the right fit hire is really a function of being a skilled recruiter. So we don't have time to, well, in fact, no, that's incorrect. I think I did a webinar for Heart on Main Street. I don't know if it's still in the library. Patrick, maybe you can go back on how to recruit. I think I did that a couple of years ago because everybody was having a hard time finding good people. If you know how to recruit, you can find good people. And when you find good people, what do you want to do? You want to hire attitude and train skills. Hire attitude, hire the right people, then give them the skills they need to be successful in your store. So what does it mean to be properly trained? It means that you need to give them selling skills. Look, selling is a skill. If you don't teach people how to sell, you can't expect them to be skillful. So selling skills, product knowledge. You want to teach them about the goods that you have in your store so they can communicate features, benefits, all those things skillfully to your customers. and processes and procedures. They need to know how to do things like how to request time off. They need to know what your customer service philosophy is. They need to know what your return policy is. They need to know what you're trying to do with your training program is you're taking your vision for your business. And I hope that WWMCW was a big part of your vision before this webinar. If it hasn't been, I hope that I'm convincing you that WWMCW is the way to live your business life, but you have a vision for your customers' experience and your team members' experience. You create standards that support that vision, and then you teach those. You create a training program that basically takes all of that stuff that's in your head and puts it someplace. And I'm not going to spend any real time on this, but one of the things that we have done at WhizBang Training is on our new educational platform called Retail Brilliance, you have the ability to build a training program on our platform. So it's video based and there's reporting and all sorts of wonderful things. If you want to up your training game, go to retailbrilliance.com, look at your company course, look at it. You can see what it does. But I can also tell you that our best clients all have training programs. Your team members are not mind readers. You may expect them to be, but until you take what's in your head and put it on camera or put it on a piece of paper and put it where everybody gets the same information the same way from the same source, you're never going to get the kind of consistent experience, customer experience, that's going to really let your business thrive. I see what the great ones do and I see what the mediocre ones do. And training and education is a big part of what the great ones do. One of our clients pet store, has got 65 hours of training on their custom course. People don't go on the floor by themselves until they've gone through 35 hours of training. Do you think their customers get a tremendous experience? The answer is, of course, they do. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to get to the place where everybody lives the culture. Seth Godin defines culture as people like us doing things this way. And isn't that what you want? This is the way. I didn't realize this until once I was doing an exit interview with someone who we hired as a manager. And we hired him from a big box sporting goods store, and he was leaving to move out of state. But I did an exit interview, and then we were talking about things. And he said, Bob, and he worked for a big box store. He said, this is the first place I've ever worked where there was a special way of doing things, the Mackinac Kite Company way of doing things. And that's what we're trying to do. You're trying to hire the right people. You're training them. You're educating them. You're giving them the skills they need to be successful when they're working with your customers. That's how you create that great experience. Then moving up the pyramid a little bit, you've got your store. And in every store, there are all these moments of truth. When people come in, a moment of truth is when people have a feeling in a moment. So think about your own experience, maybe shopping with somebody for the first time. When you walk up to the back door, how do you feel? Is it clean and tidy? If it's incredibly clean, it creates a feeling. That's a moment of truth. If it's dirty, if your front window has posters from events that, happened 4 months ago, that's a moment of truth. Lighting. Are the light bulbs burnt out? That's a moment of truth. If somebody needs a form, is it available? That's a moment of truth. All of these things are important. And these are all operational things. And I learned this the hard way. So I had kite stores. And in kite stores, we tied everybody's string and we sold yo-yos too. And one of the big frustrations in our business was needing a scissors and not being able to find the scissors. So when we finally got frustrated enough that we decided to make a commitment to operational excellence, sort of the hallmark was, did everybody put away the scissors? And one season, all of a sudden I looked around and said, oh, there was a moment of truth. It was like, yes, everybody can find the scissors. And I don't know what industry you're in, but your store probably has those things happening. So those moments of truth are so important. Operational excellence is so important. The one thing that I want to share real quickly is if you did one thing that will dramatically increase your store's operational excellence, it's having open and closing checklists that are done to standard and initialed every single day. See, if you do that, if you have open and closing checklists every single day, your store gets brought back to perfect before you open the next day. So all those slips of paper that are post-it notes that are on your counter, they go away. All of the trash in the back room, it goes away. All of the shelves are stocked. The back room is straightened up. So if you did one thing when it comes to operational excellence, if you learned one thing in this webinar and got open and closing checklists in place, you would be good to go. So one of the things that I want to talk about super quickly here is if you want these skills, if you want all of these skills that you need to build a business that gives your customers the experience that you want them to have, that gets people back in, that makes you more money, go to retailmasterysystem.com and take a look at that. That's our flagship product, and it's the most comprehensive training program for independent retailers anywhere. Just go look at it. You can learn all the details there, but I would be remiss if I didn't give you, point you to resources that could give you what you need, the skills you need to build the kind of business that we're talking about here. So finally, wow. And these are the things that a lot of people think about when they think about customer experience. They think about the wow experience, the big gesture, the grand gesture. But if you look at it, and I hope I've made the case that everything builds on it. And if all you do is wow your customer one day, and the next time they come in, they get a terrible experience, they're going to be more disappointed than if they didn't get a good experience in the first place. So the wow is the cherry on the top. And so here's just a couple of examples of how you can wow your customers. This is an example from Maureen Doran. I talked about Maureen and her wardrobe rewind and, her return policy. But here's a wow thing that she did. She worked a deal with a local florist. So it became $35 all in. And she gave it to her best customers. So she took her, I don't know what it was, top 50, and she had these $35 bouquets. No particular reason, out of the blue. And it was just such a hit. Everybody. And they posted it on social media, and, it just had a real impact. So this is an example. Maureen also takes her best customers. She's in Philadelphia. She takes her best customers with her to New York for buying trips. And they get to see what's behind the scene. And they get to help pick out stuff with Maureen. They all go out to dinner. Your best customers deserve that extra wow experience. Here's something else that's really, really powerful. This is BombBomb, and this is an embedded email video. And here's an example. I just made a BombBomb video for everybody who was coming to the Retail Success Summit, right? And it was just an email. It says, "Hey, Summiteers." And, it was just a way It personalized. Remember, you can't out Amazon Amazon. You can't out Walmart Walmart. They can't out you. So if you're in the quilting business and you had somebody who's been looking at a $15,000 machine, but they need to think about it, a personalized video saying, hey, I mean, thanks for coming in. I'm so glad you're considering us and that you're considering this machine. Talk to them. Be natural, be honest, be human. This is how you really, really make a difference. So those are just a couple of examples of wow. And I can't see the chat, so maybe you could put some on if people are chatting. Maybe Patrick can share with me things that you're saying or questions that you have. But to wrap it up, let's just go back and talk about it one more time. Big box stores, online brands cannot or will not give your customers the kind of experience that you can. Your number one and perhaps only competitive advantage is your ability to humanize the experience in your store. So to make people feel special, to have fun, to build the emotional bank account, to show them that you care. And it happens by skillfully and intentionally. First of all, having the right philosophy, WWMCW, and having that philosophy and making it a strategy, meaning this is where you're putting your chips, right? So your policies reflect your philosophy. You should keep store-friendly hours. You should have a great return policy. You should teach your people how to complaints. Let people use the bathroom. Again, WWMCW. When you're making a decision, ask yourself, what would my customer want? And 99 times out of 100, that question will lead you to the right answer. And when you have those in place and you hire good people and you educate them about who you are and how you think and what you do, and you give them the tools to go out on the floor and be successful, now you've got a great team. They're going to stay with you longer. You're going to attract better quality people. They're going to give your customers a better experience for you. You're going to build a culture. And then you're going to create a great store, right? You're going to have a store that runs. You're going to have a store that looks great. You're going to have a store that is appealing when people walk in. The windows are going to be clean. The counter's going to be clean. The back room's going to be clean. The shelves are going to be stocked. Life is going to be good. And then, of course, you get the opportunity to wow them. When you have everything else dialed in, when you have those things dialed in, the wow becomes the fun. The wow becomes your opportunity to become creative. The wow gives you the opportunity to build those promotions like Maureen did, Wardrobe Rewind, or do cause marketing events, or really do the things that set you apart and really do the things that make your community proud to shop with you. So the customer experience pyramid, that's sort of the framework that you can use to build your best business. I'm going to say it again. I truly believe that there has never been a better time to be an independent brick and mortar retailer. But you have to be a good merchant, and you have to think the right way, and you have to take that philosophy and bring it forth in everything that you do. All right, Patrick, are there any questions for me?
Yeah, we got a good crowd here, but unfortunately, we do not have anything popping up in the Q&A or the chat,
Okay.
at least not yet. So we will definitely open up for people. If you do have questions, you're listening out there, if there's been anything that's popped up. What I love about this and kind of the whole pyramid concept is it does build upon each other, right? If you just try and go for the wow right away without having all of that built, going straight into the flower policy, you're going to be all over the place. This really keeps you honed. It keeps it consistent. It's your brand, it's your people, it's your philosophy, everything really about your store. So I love this idea. We
Good.
do have a question that, oh, sorry.
Sure.
Oh, please go ahead. Well, okay, Bob. So we had a question that came in from Austin, and they ask, what would you suggest to a hospital gift shop that has some limitations from compliance?
Yes. So, and this is a part of the problem that I have, right? Because I'm speaking to sort of a really broad general audience. So, compliance is compliance. So if the compliance is external, Austin, there's nothing, you sort of have to live within those parameters. Most people don't have compliance issues, but what I would say is you can still let WWMCW, you can still train your people, you can still have generous, you can, what I would say to you, Austin, is do everything you can to be the most customer friendly business that you can be, given the constraints that you have.
Yep. Yeah. Your store hours you might not be able to dictate, but how you treat people, how your staff works, all of those things, that still remains.
That's correct. And something else that so I'll just speak to this. I've done some work in the hospital museum gift store world, and they tend to be, and I don't know if this is true with you, Austin, but often they're manned by volunteers, and the people who run those stores feel, a sort of handcuff, like I can't do anything because I'm not paying them in the way that what I say to them, and I guess I'm saying this to you, in case you're in that same boat, Austin, is you still treat them like an employee. You still have standards. There are still expectations. And if they don't live up to those expectations, just it's not working out. And you'd go and proactively try to find a new volunteer and let that volunteer go to someplace else.
Yeah, and I would guess from a volunteer standpoint, they're doing it because they love it and they love something about that. So if you're saying, hey, we're wanting to do it this way because that's the way that makes our customers feel the best and it's really for them, they'll kind of like, yeah, okay, I get treated like that when I came in, and I want to give that same experience back.
Right. Precisely. Well said, Patrick.
Let me check the Q&A. Not seeing anything there either. Well, give another second or so for people to ask any questions that they have. Bob, real quick, how can people interact with the WhizBang retail training?
Absolutely. So if you go to our website, WhizBang Training, there's an H in Whiz, whizbangtraining.com. You get an opportunity to sign up for our Retail Buzz. And that's a newsletter that gets sent every Wednesday. That's filled with great information. We're on tip. We've been sending out regular tips for, I think, 18 years now, weekly tips. And then you get that on Wednesday. And then on Sunday, you get my weekly video blog, Real Retail TV. So that would be one place. The other thing I would encourage you to do is to go to Facebook, and we have a Facebook group called WhizBang Retailers. You can, it's a relentlessly positive group. It's great. I would encourage you to do that. And then the final thing that I just would really encourage you to do is to, would encourage you to register to come to Grand Rapids for the Retail Success Summit. There's just nothing like being in a room filled with growth-minded retailers, and this year, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. So if you need a shot in the arm, or you need, and you're looking for that, for that inspiration to take your business to the next level, I would encourage you. You'll read all about it on our website when you go to sign up for the tip. But yeah, thank you for that opportunity, Patrick.
Yeah. I feel like you got some secrets up your sleeve about Retail Success Summit, and so I'm excited about it. And if you are not part of the WhizBang community, as Bob said, one of the most positive, one of the most success-oriented groups of it really trying to help each other out. So if you're not part of the online groups, if you're not getting the WhizBang emails, and then if you love that community experience, going to get together with other retailers in Grand Rapids this summer will be fantastic.
Great, wonderful.
All right, Bob, I'm not seeing any questions. Again, let me check the Q&A section. Thank you very, very much for being on. I was furiously writing notes. I'm sure our listeners were as well. So thank you very much for being our guest today. And I can't wait to talk with you further and see you in Grand Rapids in June.
Well, thank you, Patrick, and thank you for everybody who is here. I'm honored.
All right, take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day.